Yep.
Going live.
Hey y'all, I am James Wright and welcome to the shop. Tonight we are doing pocket holes. Yes, there's a whole bunch of history to that, but we'll actually be talking about that here in a moment. At the beginning of each live, I'm going to go over some of the upcoming things that I'm going to be at if you want to come see me. We just had the Garfield Farm Museum this last weekend. It is one of my favorites of the whole year. Some of the best prices you'll ever see, especially if you can come early, because a lot of people go through and pick stuff out early. But the next one coming up is going to be Handworks. Now, if you are anywhere in the US, this is worth flying in for. It's 2 days of all hand tools. It's an entire town that's just set aside to being hand tools. And there's several barns, there are several awnings and open areas, and they have demonstrations. And every tool company is going to be there. You know, Lee Nielsen, Veritas, Benchcrafted, everyone. All of the hand tool makers are going to be there, and they're going to have all their stuff out so you can play with it and buy it if you want to. As well as there will be several antique booths there as well. You're going to see myself, Rex, the two of us are going to be doing a meetup on Friday. And then, you'll see like Roy Underhill, and basically if there's a name in the hand tool world, you're probably going to see them there. So 2 days of lots of fun.
Excuse me.
That's coming up the 1st and 2nd of September. And it's completely free. If you go online and sign up for it, free to sign up, you get entered for a whole bunch of door prizes as well. Next up, the weekend after that is on the 10th of September is Frankfort, Illinois. It's another MWTCA tool meet. I'm going to be there. And then on the 16th, the next weekend, I'm going to be flying out to Raleigh, North Carolina for an MWTCA meet out there. And that's a really fun one. It's outside, kind of cool. So I'm looking forward to that one. And then the 28th through the 30th is the MWTCA National. Biggest tool sale in the world is going to be in Des Moines, Iowa. And it's a 3-day event. Thursday is the big day. If you can be there Thursday morning, it's the tailgate sale where all of the tools outside, great users for sale, and just an awesome place to buy tools. And then there's lots more. These are just the ones that I'm going to be going to. If you want to see other events, they're happening all over the place. September and August are 2 very big months for tool events. Go to handtoolfinder.com. There's a link to it in the description. Handtoolfinder.com. I have on there a list of all of the events that I know of that are hand tool related. And there are lots of them. So go take a look at that in the map. Yeah, lots of things coming up. And let's get into some woodworking. So we've been doing the joinery window, and this is a fun one, and it's got 6 pieces that come up with 9 different joints. And this is a great way to judge your skills. And so I've made them every 2 years to kind of see how things have changed. And it's kind of fun to compare and contrast and see, wow, actually I did that better. Wow, I actually got worse. You never know what's going to happen. But last week we did the half lap dovetail. This week we are going to do the pocket hole. Now the pocket hole has kind of a bad rap to it, and we've got pocket holes here and here. And it's a very, very traditional joinery, which is kind of confusing to people. At one point, pocket hole was actually viewed as a really high quality joint. It was an expensive joint because you had to buy the screws. The screws were expensive, and that was a valuable thing. It allowed movement in the joint. Particularly for the skirts holding down a tabletop, pocket holes are phenomenal there. They give you lots of strength. They allow the tabletop to expand and contract without moving things around. They give you the ability to take the top off and put it back on. There are just so many things that the pocket hole can do. The problem nowadays is the pocket holes are actually surprisingly easy to make. So because of that, they tend to get used for all the joints. And there's a lot of applications where they're not good for that. If you have 2 boards going into each other like this, and there's going to be a rotational force in them this way, the pocket hole is not very good. It doesn't resist the force that way. However, if I have a stretcher and a tabletop, and I want to connect those two, I want to allow the tabletop to move across the top of the stretcher. So putting in a pocket hole, fantastic location for it. And so you'll see that. The cheap tables used wooden methods of connecting, like a sliding dovetail. The expensive tables used pocket holes, which we kind of think of as odd. But But yes, pocket holes are a great joinery. And the reason why I have them in here is it's one more thing to do, and it's a slightly different methodology to bring it together. And once you see how it goes together, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I see why it's in there. Because it is a useful joint, and learning how to do it in a traditional manner is a lot of fun. Now, speaking of a traditional manner, there are surprisingly some interesting ways to do it. I thought I had pulled this out earlier, but apparently, there it is, good. Oh, that's the broken one. There it is. I got a couple of these. We think of a pocket hole bit like this thing. Let me zoom in a little bit. Focus. There we go. So this is a Craig pocket hole bit. It's got a little bit here to relieve the screw, a shoulder for the screw to sit on. But there is a historical version to it like this. And this would actually cut a tapered shoulder for a flathead screw. And then it would have this screw in here that would start the lead for it. So yes, there are traditional pocket hole bits. And if you had to do a bunch of them, this was the way to do it. But if you're just doing one table, you may just end up cutting them in by hand. And trying to find these traditional pocket hole bits is surprisingly hard. They're delicate, and so they broke easily, as well as they were kind of specialized, and so you don't see them, you don't find them as much. But you will occasionally find them like an MWTCA meet. You look through a pile of bits, and there'll be one or two of them in there. But the nice thing about them is that you don't need that. You can just cut them out with a chisel, which is what we're going to do here. The next thing I want to talk about is which direction do you put it? Let me back this up. No, not that way. There we go. So I've got these two going two different directions. This one goes cross grain on this piece and into the end grain here, whereas this goes with the grain and then into the end grain here. And you're going to hear a lot of arguments about which way it should go. If you're putting the pieces together, this one gives it a little bit more strength on the head because you're going across the board here. You're not going to be breaking this board, but it makes it much easier to rip out of this board. So if you are joining two boards in this orientation, it's generally preferred to go through the end this way and then have the threads go cross grain. That gives you a little bit more strength, as long as you leave enough meat from here back to the head. However, if you are doing skirts into tabletops, you generally prefer to do it this way because the tabletop is here. You're not going to have a board that it's butting into. So we're going to do it this method, which is what you would be doing if you're doing a skirt. So that is what we're doing today. Cross the grain and then into the end grain. So now we need to figure out how does it go together. And we get to play the puzzle game of where do all these pieces go? And so I've got to lay these out so that we've got them all in the correct orientation. And it is going opposite of the draw bore. Let me just wrap my brain around it and make sure I'm not, sure shooting, I'm doing a live, I'm going to mess something up here. So we're going to actually focus. It's going to be this board into this board. So this one's all done. We're not going to need that. However, I need to know how long to cut this because it's actually going to intersect into this board. So we need to cut this off at the thickness of this. Theoretically, it should be exactly at the thickness of that. But I want to know exactly where that is. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this joint back together. Get that right where it should be. Okay, and then I can set this on top of here. And we can square it all up. And I can make sure, yes, I'm flush here. So that tells me as long as I flush up this board, I can mark this off. Let me grab my marking knife though. Marking knife. So we're going to just flush this board up on here, which is theoretically, if all the boards were made correctly, it should be, but you might be doing with one that's longer, so it's always better to double check. Just going to put a little mark here, and then grab my square, put that on here, and we're going to extend that mark. Now we're going to cut this off.
I almost feel like I could say some of this word for.
Yeah, it's one of the things about joints is I hear a lot of people, why don't you show me how to do this joint? Why don't you show me? They're all the same thing. Every joint is the exact same thing. It's just a different angle you're cutting at. And once you start, I mean, even when you get into crazy, weird Japanese joints, it's still the exact same thing. And it's once you understand the basics, it's kind of, yeah. And that's one of the things I love about doing this is you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. You're always cutting a shoulder, you're always cutting a cheek, or you're cutting something flush, and it's going to be the same methodology. So, yeah. Let's take this apart. Come loose. And don't put your head over it, otherwise it goes whomp. Don't ask me how I know. I've watched my kids do it. Whoop, I need that piece.
Monkey see, monkey do.
Yes. That's the way it works, isn't it? So let's go back to this. So I've got a mark on this side. Now I'm going to flip it up. This is my reference side, the one with tape. So I'm going to put the square on here. Put the knife into the line, slide the square up against it, mark across, roll this down, put the knife into the line, mark across, light, medium, hard, roll it up. But this is my reference face, so I'm going to flip the square around, put the knife into the mark, slide it up, light, medium, hard. And those two lines should be dead on. Oh, look, they're exactly on. Isn't that kind of nice? Now, the nice thing about pocket hole is we're not making a tenon here. We're not doing anything special. We're just going to cut this off, which just makes it really, really easy. And that's one of the reasons why pocket holes have taken off, is they're really easy to make. They're simple, and that's why they've kind of gotten a bad rap. As if it's simple to make, then it isn't a good joint. But it is a good joint. We need a
So you could call it the kiss joint?
What's that?
The kiss joint?
The kiss joint, yes. So I'm going to be grabbing a sash saw, cross-cut teeth. And everything I'm about to say, you've heard me say 300 times before on this project. I'm going to start on the far side, pinch the board, let the saw slide up against the thumbnail. And so I'm just going to let it rest here. Lifting the weight up. I want the weight to be on the horn, so if I'm holding it, it's balancing between this finger and back in here, so that there's very little weight on the saw. That allows me to just slide on the top, and then I'm going to slowly bring this down and follow across the line. So I'm just cutting where I can see. And there we've got it established all the way across. Now I'm going to cut a diagonal down, so I can cut on this line and this line. I'm only cutting on the lines that I can see. Let the saw do the work. Don't push it. You push it and it starts to go off the line. So now we got it established on the far side there. You can do the exact same thing we just did. Let it drop back across. Follow the line that you can see. A clean cut. Now, I went right on the line there, so I want to see how square am I. And that is well within tolerances. About this way. Got a little bit of junk in the middle where the two saw cuts met. So I'm going to take this, put it back in here, and I'm going to grab this little block plane. I just need to clean up those little bits sticking up where the two saw curves just touched and there's a little bit broken off, because I don't want that sticking up into the joint, pushing the board away. There it is. Focus. There we go. So, block plane, and I'm just going to clean those spots right there. And that should be just enough. It's nice and clean. Still got a little bit of high spot right there. There we go. There we go. Nice and clean. So there's the work. Next thing we need to do is it joints into, oh, let's see, this one goes into this one goes into this one. So it goes into this. The question is, how far up and down does it go in? So I'm going to put this board back in here because I already have that determined how far down it is. I need to go from this shoulder down to the board here. And so what I can do with that is, let me back this out one more time. 3. I need to go from the shoulder here back down to this. I'm going to grab my marking knife. I put these together right where they're supposed to be. Put that shoulder in there. I'm just going to put a little tick mark right here. That is where this should line up. So let's put this together and see what happens. Hey! There. So now that runs into there, and that lets me know where this goes. So if there's any movement in the joint this way, it should be, so I tighten everything up, right there. So, just going to put a tick mark. Actually, I'm going to do this on the back side. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the tick mark down here and down here. And we're going to flip this whole thing over, and I can see those 2 little tick marks here and here. Now, I want to hold this all together while I'm working so it doesn't move around. And that means holdfasts. I love holdfasts. The more, the merrier. So, let's put this one into there. This one, okay, I actually want to go through this way. So I'm going to turn this around. And I want you guys to be able to see it too. So, here, let's do it this way. Here, let's move it over. There we go. That'll do. That'll do, pig. That'll do. And one more, just for the fun of it. Why not? Because I can. Let me grab split-faced thumping whacker. We're going to go. I'm going to make sure that this joint is right where it needs to be. I need one more to hold that one in place. I didn't think about that very well. I don't know if I can get it on. Well, let's give it a shot. Yeah, that's going to be in the way. I don't know if I can put it in the jaw. I've never put one in the jaw before. Yeah, it's holding. Good. There. Got enough holdfasts on there for you? So now what we need to do is we need to cut our pocket hole right in here. I'm going to set up this camera so you can see a little bit clearer in here. And the screws I'm going to be using are, surprise, surprise, Craig screws. They're actually really, really good for this, just like that. And then you have to ask yourself, how much material do you want back from this edge? The more material you have, the stronger, but the farther back it is, the less space you have to work with, and then the less material that's going into it. And I want at least 3/4 of an inch in there. I'm going to use this where it has the smooth shaft and it has the threads up here. I'm going to use that as my spacer. I'm going to put a little tick mark here. I want to stop right there. Now, what I want is a track that is the width of this head. So let me grab a chisel, which I think is 3/8. Yes, it will fit into a 3/8 track. So I'm going to set this on where to make that mark. There is that mark. And then I have to figure out where do I want it side to side. I want it there. I'm just going to eyeball it. Doesn't need to be anything special. So now I know the width of that stop. I'm going to grab a bigger chisel. Let's see which one of these is still good. No, I need to clean that one. I got tar on it, restoring a plane that had tar on it. And actually, let me draw some straight lines on here just to make it clean. Isn't necessary to draw straight lines on here? No. But it makes everything look better when everything's clean and straight. And you don't have commenters saying, wow, that looks hideous. Because I live my life by commenters. There we go. So let's take this in. We'll put it right into that line. We're not really being decorative at all. Give it a couple good taps. Flip it around, put it on the other side, a couple good taps. And then I'm going to grab that 3/8 chisel again and pare it out. And rinse and repeat. Couple good taps. And then this one, I'm actually going to bring it back a little bit farther. Oop, bounced up. I'll grab a different hammer. I'm still using that sport face. Any questions?
Not necessarily related to the project.
Okay.
Now there's one that's kind of.
We're going to finish up early, so if anyone has questions, throw them in the chat and we'll turn it into a bit of a Q&A. And now I'm just kind of digging in a little deeper and a little deeper. And now that I've got shoulders, I could actually come in with a knife and score the lines. Just clean up those sides with a knife. Love this thing from Lake Erie. This is so much fun to use. Oop, going in too deep. Don't go in too deep. Or I can continue. The other thing I do is I don't want this flat down. I want it to be an ever so slight angle. What's that angle? Doesn't matter. I'm going to see how that looks with the screw coming in here. Can I get that head buried all the way? No, I need to go a little deeper so I can get that head buried all the way. And at that angle, yeah, it's pretty close. I'm going to draw it back just a little farther, just kind of eyeballing things. It's the nice thing about pocket holes. They're never intended to be showy, so you don't have to be ostentatious. You don't have to have a crazy amount of skill. You don't have to do things absolutely perfectly. You can just eyeball it, have a little bit of fun. Bring that back to here. And we want to go in at about that angle. There. There's our pocket hole. Now, we need to drill the hole for this to go into. And I want to make sure that the hole is deep enough for that. It is. So I'm going to grab an awl.
Ow.
Actually, I'm going to grab a punch. And I'm going to put it right there. That just makes it a lot easier to get that bit started. Now, one question that comes up from time to time is, what size bit should I use to pre-drill? And the easy way to do that is to grab a pair of calipers and measure it. What you want, let me zoom in a little more so you can see this. What you want is not the total dimension of the threads, but stick those thin points in the vaders in between the threads and measure in. And so in this case, we're at just over 1/10 of an inch. And so I'd want something around like 0.9, 0.95, something in that range, or 0.09, no, yeah, 0.095. And so then I grab the chart to figure out what is the letter size for that, or number size. 0.09, so something around a 40. I love having a set of numbered bits. I use them quite a bit. And at this point, I'm getting really crazy precise. There's no reason to be this precise, other than the fact of I like it. And I like driving some people crazy with some things I go really precise with, and some things I'm like, eyeball it, it's good enough. I'm going to put this into my egg beater, which should have enough movement to keep the chuck out of the way. Let me see. Yeah, that'll do. Let's go back to this. And I don't need it to go in very far. Just going to take it into about there. I want to get through this board and a little bit into the next one. And then I can make sure that everything is right in place. I'm right on those tick marks. I'm nice and flush and clean. I can put this in and drive it in. Now, one of the problems you're going to have with hand driving things in is eventually they get a little tight. So what I like to do is take the screw out and put a little bit of wax on it. So I got a box of beeswax, and this is my hard wax set. Just going to put it on here and load up the threads a little bit. Just a little bit of wax does amazing things. Locks it all in place, makes it a lot easier to drive, less chance you're going to break it. Especially if you're working with brass screws. Brass or bronze strip out easily or break off easily. And we're just going to drive this bit all the way down into its home. Just like that. Pocket hole bit. Or pocket hole joint, not bit. Where to put that thumping whacker? Back over here. So. Now, we've rolled ourselves a joint. And that's that. It is a really, really easy joint to make, and I think that's why a lot of people lean back on it. But it's still a lot of fun and has a lot of great uses. So, we're not even a half hour in. We got some extra time. So I'll answer a few questions, but we might just wrap this up a little early. So what do we got?
Okay, hanger.
There's a reason I have so many holdfasts. Most people have 2, and I've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 holdfasts. I don't think I've ever used 6, but I haven't tried hard enough.
It's like you could just bang them all in now and call it done.
What do we got?
Has Sarah made any friends at tool club meets? I haven't been to enough to really. I've met Alex. Met some makers' wives when we were at, what was that thing at Maker Central in
Maker
London?
Central,
Yeah. But.
Yeah, the MWTCA has an auxiliary, but it's like really, really old school auxiliary. Like they knit and crochet. And that's like a new thing for them.
I'm probably a third of the age of a lot of them. All right.
No, they do a lot of fun things. And it's a group of probably about 15 women, and they all go to the events regularly. And so they all get to know each other. They don't care about tools. But they're there to support their husband. And they all vote on what they want to do. And so it can be a lot of fun. But when you vote on what you want to do, majority wins.
It's just very hard with working full time and to be at all the tool meets. That's the biggest struggle. So.
Yeah, the tool meets, at least the nationals, really are built around retired life. So it's kind of a. Yeah. What do we got?
Hey, idle hands. I did crochet a blanket once for James. Unfortunately, no one told me I was supposed to count stitches. It goes.
It was really nice. It covered me up top and came to a point down at the bottom. What's the next question then?
Okay, hang on, dude. They threw 5 things up in the chat at once. Okay, well, y'all, if I don't get to your questions right away, you're going to have to hang on a second. Ros Sanctuary asked, does sawdust really cause cancer?
In California, yes, it does.
That was exactly somebody else's response.
Yeah, well, everything can be dangerous. yeah, and everything is about, you know, weighing the balance between fun and not. And it's one of the things I love about hand tools is, yes, there is still sawdust, but it's very minor, and it's much larger, so it tends to fall out of the air very quickly. Whereas with power tools, you get a lot of very, very fine dust that hangs around in the air for a while. And that fine, fine dust, at that scale, it's not about what the dust is made out of, but the size of the particle that actually gets into the lung and irritates it. And so that's one of the nice things with hand tools is the dust is not that small. At least the amount of it there is not an issue. But I mean, there's still people I know who do hand tools with a respirator on, so whatever you feel like.
I remember I took care of a patient who actually did a lot of woodworking and stuff, and it was better for him to be non-compliant with his asthma medication than it was to be compliant. Because instead of opening his airway so all the particles could get in, it was better for him to not be so open and to breathe less in. It was very interesting. Yeah. For once, it paid off to not take his meds. Now, I wouldn't recommend that normally, but it was interesting in his case. We just had a super chat. Oh, Dad Gamet, we haven't seen you for a little bit. Been a busy summer and had not been in tune as much as I would like. What is the current status of your workbench, Sarah? I have not seen it finised. Well, the workbench is
the
finished.
Workbench is finished like 2 years ago.
It's just covered with James's stuff.
I'll show you. It's out of focus. But there's Sarah's workbench. It's a great horizontal surface. Mm-hmm. I might get rid of the kids' old bench. They don't use it anymore, and when Melody is woodworking, she does it on Sarah's bench. But Sarah just doesn't have time to be in the shop, which is very sad. Something about
or the time Sarah could
job.
Be in the shop, James is not home.
Yeah.
And sorry, reading kind of trumps favorite hobbies right now. We need a mom joke. Where's my files? Hang on. I didn't have it pulled up in time. Screenshots. What do you get when you cross a pig with a dinosaur?
What?
Jurassic pork.
I was thinking somewhere along the lines of Oinkosaurus.
Oh, I like that too. Gosh, this coffee.
You can't get rid of that thing. Have you had it for 2 weeks now?
Anyways, back to the questions. Warren Munn, what did you ask? Have you seen the Rali Evolution plane that has replaceable blade rather than sharpening blade?
Yeah, that has been kicking around for years. They've made several renditions of it, and the most recent one has gotten a lot of press. I've thought about getting one to play with, but they're crazy expensive. And I personally have never been a big fan of disposable blades. But I mean, for someone who's not going to be doing a lot of woodworking, it's a great idea. So there are massive pros and cons to it. But I don't know if it's for me. But I don't know until I try. But I don't think I'm going to spend that money on it. But yeah, they've the first time I saw one of those, the first rendition of it was like 7 years ago. It was soon after I started Wood by Right, 7, 8 years ago, something like that. What's next?
Panda, the Three Monkeys Racing. Has James seen the short from Workshop Companion where he drilled the pocket hole for dowels?
I don't think I have seen that. I'm going to have to look it up. Drilled the pocket hole for dowels.
Is it bad I don't know who Workshop Companion is?
I'll have to look it up. I don't watch a lot of shorts, but a lot of people do like them. What's next?
I mean, we're very cool, but anyways.
Yes, I'm married to short. I don't need to watch anymore.
New show every night. Warren Munn said, I'm planning on building an architect / cartographer style cabinet / drawers Each drawer will be carrying a fair weight. Would wooden slides be okay?
Oh yeah, yeah. It just depends on how you make the slides. But actually, I had a large Architects flat file, and we loaded that thing up. Each drawer was probably somewhere around between 30 and 50 pounds. It was just solid paper inside, and it was 4 foot wide. But yeah, that was still wooden slides. So it just depends on how thick you make them, how they're mounted to the frame. But if you have something like 3/4 inch tall by 1/4 inch out, that is incredibly durable. The amount of weight it would take to shear one of those would be hundreds of pounds. And actually, it would probably be in the thousands of pounds. Yeah, especially if you're doing something good hardwood. You do it out of pine, it's going to be a lot less. Make it out of a good hardwood, and it'll hold the weight, no problem.
So Ros Sanctuary wants to know, what is your favorite joint?
I don't know. It's probably this
Dovetail?
simple. What?
Dovetail?
No.
No?
Dovetails are flashy, and I'm not that much of a flashy person.
Have you met you?
I like weird and interesting.
Says the man who has a YouTube channel.
Yeah. And my YouTube channel is all about weird and interesting woodworking.
Okay, what
Probably
non-flashy
the
joint?
drawbore mortise and tenon. It's just weird and really functional and a really cool joint. Very simple, but very practical, and it still shows its stuff because you still see the mortise and tenon, you still see the drawbore, you get to see it all.
Interesting. We should create some
Joint profiles.
like BuzzFeed, like if what your favorite joint says about your personality.
Evil chaotic spectrum.
Oh, apparently I keep giving a look.
Yeah, well, then you look at me that way.
You're just used to it now.
I have a pair of anti-glare pants. It doesn't bother me.
You're wearing shorts.
I know. I'm not wearing them today.
Sorry guys, this cough is. CJ wants to know, do you have any tools you regret buying?
Generally, no, because I buy the tool for the task. I don't buy tools because I want the tool. I buy the tool because I have something for it to do. Now, in my case, that often is I have it because I'm making a video on it. I want to show and demonstrate what it is. It may not be that I have a particular joint to do something with, but I buy tools for different uses. I buy tools that have stories or can teach things. But in my general woodworking, I don't buy tools because I want them. I buy tools because I have a purpose for that tool. And so when I buy it, I use it for that purpose. And so it's very rare that I buy something that I regret.
Dennis Meko wants to know, what did you buy at MWTCA last week?
I really don't buy much at the tool meets anymore because I'm there to show them for other people, to let other people know about them, to kind of do some advertising for the tool meets. And I have a lot of fun doing that. And so there's very little that I need to buy. Every now and then I'll find some tool that's like, ooh, that's interesting. Like I bought a couple of these file handles, Charcolite. Why did I buy file handles? Do I need them? No, I don't. But I have a video coming up because I did a video kind of buzzing the trolls, making this file handle. It was a short, making this beat up thing. And I get a lot of trolls if I use a file without a handle to be like, oh, that's dangerous, don't do that. And so I did a short showing, quick and dumb way to make a handle. And then I made a handle that looks horrible. So then I get all the trolls saying, that looks horrible. There's no quality in that. And I'm like, yeah, I get to buzz them that way too. But then I get all these people of like, oh, you should use a wine cork, or oh, you should use a corn cob, or oh, you should use a golf ball. And I've got all of those on other handles. So I thought, I'm going to do a collection of several other handles because there's a bunch that no one's even mentioned yet that I still have. So I didn't have a Sharkolite handle, and I need to go get a corn cob to put on one. And I thought it would make a fun short to do all those. So yeah, I bought those handles with the intention of making that short. Or they may actually turn into a full video at some point. Odd times. What else did I buy? I bought one other thing. Oh, yeah. I bought a wooden brace. Really cool deal. Usually these are like 50, 60 bucks. But I was able to get this one for 20 bucks. And I have another one that was missing a couple pieces, and I thought I might actually make the wooden frame for it. But this one's all there. It's all fully functional. So yeah, 20 bucks, which is a steal of a deal. What's
I'm
next?
glad you think so.
What's that?
I'm glad you think so.
Well, yeah, they're usually 50, 60 bucks. If you get the ones that the brass comes all the way up onto them, those might be 100 to 200, depending upon their style and history. What's next? Yeah, so all told, this last weekend I spent $22.
Big spender. CJ wants to know, any tools you didn't expect you'd like, but you use on a daily basis now?
Yes. The shooting board plane. It is such a specified tool, and honestly, I rarely used a shooting board because I'd rather freehand shoot. And once I got an actual shooting board plane and a nice shooting board, when I needed to shoot something, I grabbed this every time, and I really did not think I would. I thought it would make a really good video, and I thought it might make a good talking point, but I use this thing all the time, and that really surprised me because I like to freehand shoot. It's quick, it's easy, but that is just as quick, and with the good shooting board, it's just as easy, and it gives you a much more repeatable result very, very quickly. Yeah, I don't know. That's the first one that comes to mind, but yeah.
Dr. Khan really knows what's up. Has Sarah picked what she'll do with her $22?
That's the way it works.
It's probably another sushi night. It's my current fixation.
That's why I stay away from Japanese tools. They really get expensive when you start craving all the sushi.
You know what? It's like my one hyperfixation meal, okay? Leave my barbecue eel and sweet potato alone. Alan Lewis said, hey, James, did you get any tools at the New Jersey tool meet last Saturday?
I didn't go to the...
I was going to say, you didn't go to New Jersey.
No, this last weekend was when...
So Alan was the one that gave, I'm assuming, you're saying the little... was it 102?
What?
The plane.
Oh, yeah, the Jorgensen.
Yeah. So thank you, Alan. I'm assuming that's
Alan!
what
That's who it was. It's like there were 3 people there, and I couldn't remember who gave Sarah that. And she said, who gave it to me? And I was like, I'm sorry, I can't remember which one it was. There were 3 people standing there that all gave me something at the same time, and one was for Sarah, and I couldn't remember which one.
Thank you, Alan.
So yes.
Haven't had a chance to
cute
really
little
use
plane.
it yet. Clearly, I haven't been in the shops. MobiusFlight says, have you ever had a chance to use Japanese chisels? I just purchased a set. Crazy, yes, but it is my middle name.
Yeah, I've got a couple of them in my my tool collection here, my standard chisels. And then I've got, this one I'm testing. Let me show you. Let me do a quick unboxing. This is, oh, come on, what's the, not woo, come on, what's the pronunciation? It's all in Japanese.
I was like, didn't know you knew how.
No. Oh, come on.
Point it at the camera. Let's see.
There. Does anyone know?
You never know.
And I've been doing blade testing. Okay, I'll show you some of these. They're great, great. But this is just an incredibly beautiful chisel. Here, and I'll zoom in on this because it's just beyond cool. But it's got the Shoshogibon back here that has been tapered out, and then it comes into the hand here, and it's not a true backed out Japanese, but it is laminated. So the main body itself is titanium, and then this is some crazy micro steel. But even this is dovetailed in, sliding dovetailed on, and it's just so beautiful. So I've been wanting to test it. I mean, it's beautiful. How does it work? But I've been testing. Here, let me show you these irons. And they also come in these really cool boxes. Some of the best packaging I've ever seen on tools. That's going to bug me. The name is the... but these are... This one is designed to go into... Oops, sorry. This one is designed to go into a wooden plane. And so it's titanium, and the actual cutting edge is still dovetailed in. Here. There you go. So this is like new school Japanese work. And I've been playing with one in, my number 4 is a smoother. And I'm not going to tell you how well they do. I've been testing them. I actually spent most of the day testing these two because I'm going to have a video coming out here very soon because I've got several new plane that I've been testing. And the results are very interesting. I'm really, really interested to show those. If you are a patron, you can actually find those. I put up all the results on there already. But I will hopefully have the video coming out this Thursday, if not next Thursday. Because I've got several new irons that I've been testing. And most of them are new, weird, powdered metals, the newest and coolest. And so do they actually stand up in comparison to standard metals? So, yeah, stay tuned. Yeah, titanium body, not a titanium cutting edge. The cutting edge is a powdered steel, but they're married to a titanium blade. And the workmanship on them is just, the quality is, they're the most sexy plane irons I've ever touched. If a plane iron can be sexy. What's next?
Knowing you. Yes.
But, I didn't answer his question. Yes, I've used Japanese chisels. I don't like the hollowed out back. I find it gets in the way occasionally. Not that much, like just every now and then, but just enough that it's annoying if to kind of think about it. And it's a different methodology. So I don't like the weight and balance and feel of most of them. They're just not my style. So personal preference reasons mostly. Great chisels. Just like with Western chisels, there are cheap Japanese chisels and there are good Japanese chisels, and you're gonna get what you pay for. So, what's next?
I'm not sure we're gonna get through all of these. Rohn S asks, "What is your go-to method for pairing a haunched tenon with too much haunch?"
Haunched tenon. I don't know what you mean by haunched tenon. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know. Unless you're talking like a housed tenon, but that would be with too much house? No. A housed tenon is where if we have the whole tenon out of focus.
Is the company Zenwu?
Zenwu, there it is, yes. So if I have this whole thing, the mortise it goes into doesn't stop at the shoulder. It actually comes past. There's a secondary mortise that the board itself fits into. So it's a housed tenon. But I don't know what you mean by haunch. Yeah, Zenwu. Really cool. They're pumping out some interesting things. And I'm probably going to have a whole video on them because I have a couple products from them that are... I'm torn on them. So... yeah, we'll see. What's next?
EggyOrphan asks, "Are you able to use a spoon bit to make a pocket hole?"
Yeah, sure. I mean, if you're very careful, you can use a standard auger bit. It's just getting that really, really, really shallow angle causes the problem. So yeah, you probably could use a spoon bit. It would take a little bit, and it would make some issues, and you may still have to come back in with a gouge and clean it up a little bit. But you could probably get it done with that. Yeah. What's next?
James Crandall asks, my extra fine DMT stone seems to have little scratches on it. Is that normal?
Yes. Here. You'll see on mine, let me see if I can get the color right on this. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it to show up. But you'll see.
You went black.
Let's go to this one.
Okay.
They have all these little swirl marks on here, and it's not causing a problem. They're basically residue, and so if you get like an eraser, you'll probably get them to come off, but over time they wear away and you'll get back down to the diamond. Yeah. So no. Unless you actually scratch through the nickel plating, the chrome. Yeah, it's not a problem at all. What's next?
Clockman45S. In the 1930s, what was the most used stain? I have a job to redo a cabinet.
Stain? Mm-hmm. Back then they didn't do much stain. They may do some things to darken the wood to make it look a little more expensive, but it would have been all sorts of different things for different woods. They used a lot of dyes back then, or they would actually mix dyes into the first coat of finish. But yeah, it would have been an oil stain because most finishes were oil-based. So yeah, and there were a lot of weird recipes for odd things that people would mix together to make their own finishes. And you saw every shop had their own special recipe for different things they made. But then you also had a lot of things like fuming with oaks, particularly in the 1920s and 30s, in the craftsman mission, that era. There was a lot of oak fuming. They did a lot of staining with that. But yeah, all sorts of different things.
Dad Gamet wants to know, have you done a video on castle joints like they used in bed frames?
I have not. I have had a used to make one of those. Trying to think of the next closest thing. I mean, it's more or less just a half lap joint, except for on the end of a board. So it's just like cutting out, where is it? This one. The simple half lap here. Except for rather than having a half lap this way, you also have a half lap the other direction too. So, yeah. But no, I've never done a full castle joint before, because there are very few applications for that particular orientation of lumber.
That where you move the rook and the king? No, teasing.
Yes.
Idle Hands wants to know, what is your most expensive tool?
Most expensive tool I have purchased. Well, it's kind of hard to price because I mean my shooting board plane. I spent about $500 worth of things, so I traded for it, and put a little bit of money on top to get the over. But it was about $500 worth of stuff that I traded. My lathe was probably around $600 over the course of 3 years. But up front it was only $100. But getting it up and going and all the restoration on it and a couple parts for it and other things added onto it. Lathes get very expensive. The actual purchase of a lathe is nothing in comparison to all the other things you have to get for it. But like the most expensive single tool that I have paid for, I don't know, maybe 55, I traded some work for that. It was probably the foot-powered mortiser. So I paid $200 for that, which is a killer deal. They're usually around 500 plus. But it was a good friend and a good price. And
so neither of your Jared Green or your what's your one, Dovetail?
No, the Jared Green, I traded him for that.
Is it Bearcat? Is that your
the
Dovetail?
Bearcat? I traded him. I made a tool for him. He made a tool for me. Because once you get into it, there's a lot of horse trading that goes on. Most of the tools, it's not about who you know. It's not about how much money you have. It's about who you know. Because a lot of them are just getting to know the community and getting to know what different people have and putting out a thing and say, hey, I'm looking for this. Anyone have that? And that's one of the things I love about going to MWTCA meets is you've got the tool show and you have all these tools for sale. But the tool you're looking for is not on any of the tables. But you go to a table that has things like it and you ask them, hey, I'm looking for this. And they'll be like, oh yeah, I've got one of those back in my storage unit. I'll send you some pictures and sell it to you. Or, no, I don't have one of those, but go talk to Bob over there. I think he has one. And there's a lot of horse trading that goes on, and different people want different things, and you get to know who has what and what they're looking for, and that's the way a lot of tool deals are done. But you got to get into the community, you get to know the people, and so the expense is the time involved, and you get to know people and you make some really good friends. So that's one of the biggest reasons why I go to MWTCA meets now is I've got friends there, I've got relationships that I've made, and there's all sorts of different things that people come up to me and it's like, hey, I heard you were looking for one of these. It's a great way to grow your tool collection. What's next? We have time for 1, 2 more?
If you can answer these quickly, yeah. Nicholas Todd asks, for your frame saw for resawing, what is your recommendation?
Mine is a kit from Black Bear Toolworks, and I love his stuff. He's a little bit on back order now, but he's starting to catch back up. You put in an order, and it's probably going to be 6 months, 8 months until you get it. You won't hear anything from him. It'll just suddenly show up one day, but it will show up. You're on the list. If you paid for it, it will come. Guarantee it. You just have to get on there. Now he's been working with Union Tools, and they've been handling a little bit more of the communication, so you might actually get some communication from it now. But his prices are phenomenal. He just does, Blackburn Toolworks. Bad Axe Tools sells a fully finished one, and I think they sell a kit, but they're the only two that I know of that sell a kit. I've heard of a couple others, but one of them stopped, and the other one I haven't been able to actually find. But yeah, if you had to go to one place right now, Blackburn Toolworks would be the place to go. Just understand it's going to take a while to get your kit.
All right, last one. Chase Rabon asks, do you think diamond stones are worth it?
Yes, very yes. They are so much faster cutting. They will cut things that that regular stones can't cut. Especially with a lot of these tools going to really weird steels. These will cut them. Some of those water stones, they're going to have problems with it. So diamonds are fast. You get a good one, and they're going to last you forever. I've had these ones now for almost 8 years. I've talked to people who've had them for 12, 13 years since they've actually been making them really good, and they're still the same set. Now, if you get coarse ones, you're going to wear through those quickly because the aggregate is very big and it gets knocked off very easily. But for the regular ones you're using, the medium, the fine, the extra fine, those will last you for just about ever. They're flat. You don't have to worry about them. There's no mess. They're easy. They're quick. They're very, very efficient. Now, you're not going to get the feel. You're not going to get that ooh la la enjoyment time. There's no zen sharpening. It's just get it done and get back to work. And that's where they excel. So if that's what you're looking for, diamonds are the way to go. If you're looking for the experience and the fun and the enjoyment, then you want to get into good Shaptons and natural stones and things of that nature. Cool. I think that will do it. Next week is the monthly Q&A. We have 2 more joints on this, so we have 2 or 3 more videos depending on what we're doing. And we will see where the future of the lives goes. Because, I don't know what we're going to be doing with them. So stay tuned. But on that note, I think we'll do it. Until next time, have a wonderful day. Bye.
Bye.